Chag Sameach. This is Rabbi Jeremy from Machar, and this is Machar's candlelighting video for Hanukkah 2024 on the 6th night. I keep saying 2024 in these videos, but actually Hanukkah runs until 2025 this year. The last night of candlelighting happens to be the night of New Year's Day. Not New Year's Eve, but the night on New Year's Day on January 1st. So we've got a little bit of Hanukkah that runs into actually the second day of 2025. So we talked about the history in a little bit more depth yesterday. Today, I want to talk about the dreidel, because that's one of the big things that people know about Hanukkah is the dreidel, right? Even schools where there really are not very many Jewish students, choirs and school concerts tend to have "I Had a Little Dreidel" or some kind of song like that as a nod, I guess, to Hanukkah, right? Not everybody minimizes Hanukkah, but plenty of people do, and you end up with this "I have a little dreidel." So what's the story with the dreidel? I don't actually have a dreidel with me, so you're just going to have to go with it, your memory of it, or look it up online. I guess you're watching this on YouTube, click another tab and get a picture of a dreidel. Okay, so dreidel is a four-sided top. In Hebrew, a dreidel is called a sivivon, which means a spinny thing, so spinning top. And the idea behind the dreidel that we have tended to communicate as Jews is the dreidel has four sides and there's a letter on each side. And if you are in the diaspora outside the land of Israel, those letters are Nun, Gimel, Hey, and Shin. Nes Gadol Haya Sham. There was a great miracle there. What the great miracle is, right? We talked yesterday. Maybe the miraculous thing is a military victory. Maybe the miraculous thing is the 8 days of oil. I'm not a big fan of the 8 days of oil hypothesis. Maybe the military thing is a little bit more believable as a miracle, but in any event, if you live in Israel, or you happen to get an Israeli dreidel, they're a little bit different. It's Nun, Gimel, Hey, Pei instead of Shin. Nes Gadol Haya Po. There was a great miracle here, because these events happen in the land of Israel. So if you live in Israel, you don't want to say a great miracle happened there. You want to say a great miracle happened here. And there's links within Zionist thought to the Maccabean revolt and the figure of the Maccabees, and judging diaspora Jews, particularly in the wake of certain pogroms in the early 1900s, judging diaspora Jews as being sort of not following through as heirs to the Maccabees. So that distinction in the Nes Gadol Haya Po is actually really important and reflective of ideas within Israeli and pre-Israeli Palestine Mandate Society. Okay, so having said all that, where do we get dreidels from? And the answer is British sailors. Okay, so stay with me here. British sailors played a game called teetotum. Teetotum involves spinning a dreidel, or a top, becomes the dreidel, spinning a top that has four sides, and there's a letter on each of the four sides, and the letters correspond to particular things you do with the money you are gambling with during your gambling game. Dreidel's gambling. We're giving kids tops so that they can gamble. I know maybe you haven't stopped to think about it that way, but that's what dreidel is. It's a gambling game, and it's specifically one that British sailors played, and British sailors brought it with them to, in particular, German ports. And they would play these things at seaside inns and dock inns and things like that, and they would play with German sailors. If you were a Jew living in Germany in the late medieval period and the early modern period, there were not a lot of jobs that you could have. You really weren't allowed to own land, so you weren't going to be a farmer. There were a lot of professions that were really closed off to you, but breweries and inns were not closed to Jews. And so lots of Jews had inns. And it was a family kind of affair. You ran the business with your family. And so a person and their spouse and their kids, and everybody would be involved with this. And so the kids would work the floor at the inns, and they would encounter British sailors and German sailors playing teetotum. And they learned the game too. And it's a popular game, right? It's easy to play. You spin, you know what the 4 letters are, and you do what one of the 4 letters tells you, right? So the 4 letters, nun, gimel, hey, and shin, or pei, whichever one. If you get the nun, you don't put anything in. You don't take anything out of the pot. The gimel doesn't mean gadol. Gimel means ganze, or whole. That's ganze is whole in Yiddish, or in the German of the time. And so ganze means you get everything in the pot. The hey, nun, gimel, hey, shin, the hey means you get half of what's in the pot. And the shin means that you got to put something into the pot. So it's very easy to learn to play this game, and kids learn to play this game. At the same time, Christmas is a thing. Now, Christmas isn't the huge thing that it is in our culture today, but Christmas is still a thing. And other children, right, Christian children, got presents. And so you have to deal with your neighbor kids get presents. And so what you do is you give your kids a little bit of money, and they play teetotum with it. So you have kids playing dreidel with geld. Now, geld is a German word, or Yiddish word, means gold, but also means money. So that's why the coins are gold, right? Because geld means gold. Okay, so kids would get a little bit of money on Hanukkah as a gift, and they would play dreidel with the money. So they're gambling on Hanukkah, and that is really uncomfortable for people. So they need to figure out a way to make the dreidel mean something more than just our kids are playing teetotum that they learned from British sailors with the money that we gave them. So the story of the oil is brought in, and we get the Nes Gadol Haya Sham instead of the none, all, half that comes from English or from German. So that's kind of how we get dreidel as a Hanukkah thing, is we've got people doing a thing and they're not going to stop, so let's give it some meaning. And that's actually really common in a lot of Jewish customs. Breaking a glass at a wedding, I got to tell you, it didn't start as we want to remember that Jerusalem was destroyed, and in every happy occasion there's some sad. It probably started as a way to chase away evil spirits, as an example. So dreidel as a game is really a British sailor's game that gets brought into Jewish life in a particular way and seems to get co-opted to have more substance to it than it really did originally, where it was really Jewish kids are playing a gambling game with the geld that they were given as a small gift on Hanukkah. Okay, so having done that, maybe I burst a few bubbles, but you can still play dreidel. Now you know where it came from, and that's worth something too, I guess. So having done that, we have our chanukiyah, or Hanukkah menorah, set up for the 6th night of Hanukkah. It's just a Monday. There's nothing else interesting going on. We just have the blessing for candles. So we'll go ahead and light our chanukiyah. We'll say our blessing for our candles, and that will be the video for our 6th night of Hanukkah. And we light this way, newest first. Baruch Haor Ba'olam, Baruch Haor Ba'adam, Baruch Haor Shel Hanukkah. Blessed is the light in the world, blessed is the light in humanity, blessed is the light of Hanukkah. That is the original Sherwin Wine version, founder of humanistic Judaism. The one that we tend to use at Mahar, at least that I tend to use at Mahar, is Nivarech et ha'or ba'olam, Nivarech et ha'or ba'adam, Nivarech et ha'or shel Hanukkah. Let us bless the light in the world. Let us bless the light in humanity. Let us bless the light of Hanukkah. And so we have our candles lit, and that is our video for the 6th night of Hanukkah. Chag Sameach.